I'd like to show you a splendid attacking game using the Kalashnikov Sicilian. There we go. Open Sicilian, and black hits out immediately with the pawn to e5. Now, the best option for white here is knight b5, and with d6, that's the start of the Kalashnikov. By happy coincidence, my Chessable course on the Sicilian Kalashnikov is on sale at the moment. Get it while you can at a bargain price. I'll put the link down in the comments and in the video description so you can take advantage of this offer. So I'd like to look at a game between Yevgeny Sharapov and Pavel Eljanov. Now, this was played in the Ukrainian Team Championship in 1998. Eljanov must have been very young. You can see he's only rated 2310 when this game was played. He's now rated over 2700, one of Ukraine's strongest grandmasters. And he's been a great exponent of the Kalashnikov throughout his career. I think that the point I want to make in this game is, watch out for this, rapid development. Because white has made so many moves with this knight, 3 moves so far, then almost by stealth, black gains a lead in development. And this can have serious consequences. Very often, players with white forget that they're behind in development and take liberties. So watch out for that in this game. Time, the element of time, is everything in the opening. I've already shown on the channel quite a few games with c4, and this move, knight c3, is the other main line, so white just develops normally. But you see black takes the chance to push that knight to a rather unfortunate square on a3, so it's got to take even more time to bounce back to somewhere sensible. Now here black has quite a choice. Bishop e6, b5 is the old main line. The move that I recommend in the course is bishop e7. So it looks like quite a modest move. The idea is we want to play knight f6 and I don't want to get pinned. You can also play knight f6 and that leads back into the Sveshnikov variation. Okay, that's a whole different can of worms. But I like bishop e7. It's just simple development. And the main line here is to play knight c4, but that takes time. Anyway, that's another story. But here, knight d5, it's also a pretty popular move. And we deal with that just by developing the knight. And white has options here. You can take either of those pieces. Bishop e3 is quite a popular move, threatening bishop b6 and knight c7, but we can just exchange off the knight on d5. Here black obviously has a choice. What do you do with that knight? You can bring it back to b8 and then bounce it round to d7, and that is satisfactory for black. But I really like this move knight d4, which has been tested in quite a few games, and that's my recommendation in the course. Involves a pawn sacrifice. Well, white doesn't need to take the pawn, but if you don't, let's say bishop d3, then this knight will bounce around to f5, attacks the bishop. If we can grab that bishop, then our dark square bishop is looking good. So bishop d2, knight h4, and you want to play f5. This is fun for black. I prefer this knight on the rim to that one. Okay, let's go back. Now, after knight d4 in the game, white got greedy. White decided to take this pawn. And Eljanov castled. Well, this is a very interesting moment in the game. Black has sacked a pawn, got his king to safety, has 2 beautiful bishops. In particular, this one doesn't have an opponent, so white better watch out here. And this one is ready to fly out somewhere. This knight is poorly placed. White's king is in the middle. First things first, white has to decide what are you going to do about the king? Do you go queenside or do you go kingside? In this game, white decided to play c3, which is obviously directed against bishop f6, didn't want b2 falling. Bishop f6, queen goes back to d1. So white wants to bring the king to safety on the king side and is hoping that this bishop is locked out and then the knight can hop back into play. The element of time is everything in the opening. If white had an extra move here, if white could castle and play knight c2, then it's not so bad. Black has compensation, but white is alive. But black has the move. And this is where you can play something very nice. Okay, perhaps have a quick think. What would you do with black here? Black to play. How do you try to keep white's king in the middle? Well, you could go queen e7. This knight might hop back into the game and there's nothing immediate for black. But this move is definitely the most testing. Threatening the bishop, so white has to play f3. And now you follow up with bishop h4 check, and that is really nasty. White is already in some trouble. The king is really not best placed on f1. Something pretty nasty happens there as well. There's queen b6, for example. So white tried king d2. But this is not a happy place for the king. These bishops still look really good. Bishop d3, trying to block out this one and perhaps land on this square. But queen g5 check catches the king straight away. King c2. And now, yeah, you could take here, but this move is even stronger. This is an absolute killer. Threatening the bishop, so it has to take on f5. And now the king is getting pushed to a very nasty spot on the board. King b3. Oh, and now it just gets hunted down. Watch how this ends. a4 check. Rook e2, threatening this. Knight c4. And now bishop f2. That was the final move of the game. Well, it is pretty dreadful. Once the king moves, then there's going to be a check here, and the queen will come back down, and the king gets chased down. It's pretty bad. Let's just have a very quick look at what could possibly happen. Check here, and queen d7. Rather unfortunate. Let's come back to that position after black castled. It wasn't really possible to escape to the king side. At least, you know, the king was always going to be uncomfortable. So what about castles? Well, I'd like to show you another game, just very quickly. So this was the game between Capellades and Bartel. So Mateusz Bartel from Poland, strong grandmaster. This was played in an Open in Barcelona in 2008. So they reached exactly this position, same variation. And white castled here. But for the moment, the king is safe. It protects the b2 square. But this bishop, with no opponents, there's no dark squared bishop that can meet that bishop, that can match it, then this is already very uncomfortable for white. Let's just see how this game went. So queen b4, b5, so that starts a pawn storm. What's lovely about this is that black can just get going with the attack straight away. You know, development is done. You don't need to worry about your king. The king is completely safe. So it's just very direct play on the queen side. Attempting to block out the bishop, rook b8. supporting the B pawn, which can now push. And here you could play quite calmly, bishop d7, queen b6, and so on. But Bartel is in a hurry. b4, cracking open this diagonal. It's too late to try and close things with the queenside with c4. You just keep sacking, and here, and yeah, it really doesn't look like a lot of fun. Pawn takes pawn, and king b1. So, in a sense, white has closed things a little bit. Queen has a bit of security now. Well, the b file at least is closed. But look at that bishop. What a tremendous piece. Bishop d7. Bishop c4. Queen a5. Aha. Black has a plan to push the queen out of the way. Well, among other things. Queen f3. Now, once again, you can play this in various ways, but I really like the way that Bartel plays here. He is in a hurry. He doesn't give white a chance to settle at all. You know, there could be an issue if white manages to play the bishop here and close things a bit. So b3. Just opening everything. We've got this diagonal open. We've got the A file open. And now the B file opens as well. It's so thematic. I really like this. Bishop takes. Rook b7. So there's not some immediate follow-up. Basically, shifting the rook up just allows rook number 2 to enter the game on a8. Possibly b8, but probably a8. White played knight e3. I just want to show you one variation with knight d4. This is great fun. Watch this. Rook a8. Because I was thinking to myself, well, you know, maybe this knight could do a bit better. Maybe, you know, let's put it on c6 and see if that worries black a little bit. But watch this. This is fantastic. You can sack the queen. Rook takes and rook takes. So the threat is rook a1 mate. Remember that rook is defended by the bishop on f6, and there is no defense here. Even though white is a queen up, a queen for a bishop up, there is absolutely no defense. For example, knight d4. Okay, that cuts the bishop. Bishop g5 check. Ah, that's another problem. Queen steps in the way. No problem. We won't take it yet. We'll just keep things going. So there's a pin there. Rook a1 mate is threatened. Well, it's completely over. Queen takes g5. Rook a1 mate, for example. Beautiful queen sack. And I think it just shows so well that it's all about opening lines. Just flows beautifully. So in the game, knight e3 was played. And now Bartel seizes the moment. Rook takes bishop. And rook a8. With a devastating attack down the rook's file. Knight c4. Check here. Does that hold things together? Looks like the knight is defending everything. Is it? No. Bishop b2. So this was nicely calculated. I mean, I'm sure that this wasn't calculated when black played the pawn sack b3, but of course once we get to the exchange sack, then it's about number crunching. And rook c8 check. Black's a rook down, but this is absolutely decisive. If the king wanders up, then queen takes knight, and combination of rook c3 check or bishop b5, it's hopeless. White put the queen in the way, and black, after this check, took it. Does this look like the end? In fact, it is the end. Black has calculated very well. Queen a5, that's a beautiful move. If king d4, queen c5 is a really elegant mate. I see this in a lot of mating 2 problems, actually, where you get this combination of the queen and bishop with this kind of crossfire. Very well-known theme. white played b4 and black picked up the knight, and of course that really is the end. This was white just flapping around a bit, but the queen clears up very quickly. Something, yeah. In fact, that rook is going to drop now as well, just to add to the fun. Or here and here. And it's going to be mate soon as well. Absolutely crushing victory. And I just come back to the opening. That because white is making so many moves with this knight, it's often forgotten that white is behind in development. Even though, you know, black's moves look sort of quite modest, but black is very quickly ahead in development, and that really shows up very well when white accepts this pawn, and suddenly white here is in massive trouble. Remember, if you're interested in learning more about the Kalashnikov, the Sicilian, or the Sicilian Kalashnikov, as you wish, then do check out my Chessable course, which is on sale at the moment. And by the way, my Anti-Sicilians course, that's all the closed lines against the Sicilian, for example, the Grand Prix attack, the Moro Gambit, the Rossolimo, C3 Sicilian, all these things. My course on the Anti-Sicilians is coming out probably towards mid-February, looking like. I've actually finished the recordings now, so I'm looking forward to publishing the publication of that one. So look out for that one as well. Thanks for watching.